I kind of have like I had the Norman Rockwell / Addams Family thing going on when I grew up. I have really good memories of Christmas. Christmas was a fun time, and there's a lot of loving going on. But I also have memories of my father and my grandfather having a fist fight rolling in the yard. As I moved forward in my life, I think my parents kind of started to disintegrate in their relationship, and they're alcoholic. I grew up in an alcoholic home. I had a break with my father for probably when I was in 7th grade. He did some not so nice things to my mother and the family, and I didn't talk to him for a couple of years, so there's a lot of time of anger. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. You know, when I was 14, I tried to drink. I tried drinking. Now, that being said, when I drank, I grew up with 2 alcoholic parents, but I did it anyhow, and I took my first drink. That started off just drinking with, you know, some seniors that were football players that I was a freshman, and I wanted to, you know, peer pressure or whatever you want to call it. I just wanted to. And when I did that, it was good. I could be somebody, I could talk, and I could joke, and I could be charming. And from there, it grew into, not too long after that, I tried marijuana. When I was 18, crack cocaine for the first time. Fell in love with that instantly. And, you know, for me, drugs and alcohol and drinking, it just became the part of me that I just didn't have to really settle into reality. At that point in my life, I was in pain over the things life was tough. My dad was not good to my mother. My mother was not available for me. I was lonely. I was in fear. I was insecure. I should say at this point, probably my parents probably got sober when they had gotten sober when I was in my 20s. And kept telling me I might have to think about looking into this whole 12-step thing they were a part of. And I said, no, thanks for the information. That's not for me. God and I, you know, I knew he was there, but I really didn't want to have much to do with him because it kind of narrowed the road for me. And I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do, like drink, be with girls, have sex. It kind of limited things like that for me. So at the age of 23, I was empty. And I was tired of living the way I was living, and my soul was, what I know now today as my soul was in pain. So I ended up going to that 12-step program that my parents had talked about. And that's where I kind of got my first real introduction, I guess, to God is not something that was just there. I got married when I was 26. About 7-8 months into the marriage, she found out she was pregnant. When my daughter was born, I just had a moment of kind of, I gotta get something more, because I just really felt the presence of God, and I felt like I wanted to share that with her. I didn't really know where I was gonna get that from. I knew I wanted it, but I didn't know how to get it anymore. But I really was searching. I started going back to the church that I went to when I was a child, and I struggled with connecting there, and it was very hard for me to connect there. Through this time, I started assuming, kind of started to regress, and I started assuming character defects again, and doing things that aren't consistent with a spiritual life. That being said, it ended up and resulted in divorce. My last few weeks of using drugs and alcohol consisted of me not showing up to my daughter's birthday party, which if anybody who knows me knows that I adore my daughter and I'm a good father. I was willing to let that go. That's where drugs and alcohol take me. So this particular couple called me up. He says, Jamie, I know your position and I know what you're going through, and he said, I would how would you feel about meeting us at church on Sunday? Well, I really didn't want to meet him at church on Sunday, but I felt that I was so impressed that this guy took an interest to extend a hand of friendship to me, that I said yes. They started off with a rock concert, is what I thought it was. From the faith that I grew up in, that just wasn't the way it was. And people were dressed in jeans and T-shirts and had Starbucks coffee. And I was like, this is nothing like, you know, kneel down, stand up, you know, crosses, goblets, and all that stuff, and robes. The pastor got up there, and I sat there, and I heard something, and I heard God from the Bible, and how it related to my life. And I just started getting into the Bible, and I started reading, and I started believing that this was really divinely inspired by God, and I came to believe that it was something real and tangible, and I can have this relationship with my Creator and His Son that died for me. I was going through this divorce, and my life was in a shambles, and I was ready. Moving into today, where I do know God and I do have a relationship with Christ consistently, I butt up against God's will in my life all the time. I was sober for 9 years. The last year of my life proceeded to pick up drugs and alcohol again. It was interesting, in that 10 months, I found myself, when I first started to do that again, I would talk to God every day for the first month. And then for maybe the next month, I'd talk to God maybe 2, 3 times a week. And like, you know, and by the end of the 10 months, God and I weren't talking anymore. And that right there is something that it's painful for me, because it is a huge relationship in my life. And without that, when I noticed that happening, I felt like I wasn't going to be able to come back. And nothing held any value anymore, not even my daughter. I was sitting in a parking lot. I had no money left, and was coming down off of crack, and was on the phone with my brother. And I didn't want to get sober, and I didn't want to stop. But it's a miserable feeling when you're a drug addict and you got nowhere out. More drugs. And my brother told me that this is the time that you need to beg God to intervene in your life. I hung up the phone, and I asked God, and I begged Him. God keeps picking me up by the scruff of my neck and dusting me off, if I allow Him to.